And now for more, let's bring in member of the Senate Appropriations Committee, Britt. Senator Britt, people are packing a lunch just for the security line.
Yes. Look, this is just completely unnecessary and unfortunate in so many ways. We have men and women who have stepped up to serve our Department of Homeland Security. We're seeing TSA right there, and they're not getting a paycheck. It's unacceptable. Want our Democratic colleagues to sit down with us and find a pathway forward, and they did for the first time since we passed the continuing resolution, Peter, on January 30th. First time they sat down with us was on Thursday.
So President Trump says he's going to end the long lines at all these airports by sending ICE to the airports to backfill some of these TSA callouts. Tom Homan just explained how this is going to work.
Exit lanes where people leave the airport. Now people try to enter those exit lanes. That's a security breach. Well, an ICE agent can maintain those exits, and that allows a TSA officer to go back to screening to move people through quicker. You know, ICE can check identification before people enter the screening area, right? And we're trying to release TSA resources.
How's this going to go? Airport pat-downs from an ICE officer?
No. Look, I think what you heard Tom say is we're going to create a plan to help out with what we're dealing with. You have TSA officers, Peter, who haven't gotten a paycheck. If you think about the 43 days in the first Democratic shutdown and now 36 plus days now, think about that. These people can't make their car payments. We had one TSA officer tell us about sleeping in his car to save on gas. They have people who have tolls they have to pay to and from work. You have a gentleman who told us about not being able to afford his wife's cancer treatment payment. But these men and women are still showing up to work, but some of them have to find another avenue. So what we're saying is we're going to figure out how to use these agents and officers in a way that is helpful so that we can take TSA officers that are coming to work and put them in the screening place where they can do their job.
We've seen Democratic activists. They are really good, or at least really motivated, to antagonize ICE officers. Over the last couple months, somebody will show up, they'll have one guy yelling at an ICE officer, they'll have another guy with a cell phone recording the whole thing. Are we about to see that next to the baggage claim?
Look, I certainly hope not, but when I'm looking at what the Democratic Party has become, it is literally the far left has taken over as in the driver's seat of the Democratic Party. We're seeing that with them paying for protesters in a number of places, but also with the rhetoric that's created and kind of stirring that up, calling ICE officers Nazis and Gestapo. I mean, really, what we have to do is go back to making sure we're standing shoulder to shoulder with our law enforcement officers, that we are abiding by the law, enforcing the law, that we know that the way you do it matters, that we're going to do it the right way. But we are not going to vilify this. We're not going back to defund the police. We're not going back to Biden's failed open border policies. That's ultimately what many of my Democratic colleagues and people in the Democratic Party have said, that this is really about defunding ICE, that's what they're getting at. I hope that common sense will prevail, that we will pay every person that raised their hand in the Department of Homeland Security to say that we want to keep our homeland and the American people safe, and that we will find a pathway forward. I believe a pathway is there, but certainly not if you don't have a conversation.
Elon Musk is offering to help. Have you seen this? He's put out the word, and we've got his post. He said, "I would like to offer to pay the salaries of TSA personnel during this funding impasse that is negatively impacting the lives of so many Americans at airports throughout the country." Are you senators talking about letting Elon Musk come in to pay TSA?
Listen, we saw in the last Democrat-led shutdown, longest ever, 43 days, we saw an anonymous donor come in and do about $130 million to make sure that our troops were paid. There was a provision that allowed for that now. I think what we're looking at now is what provisions allow for things like this to happen in the Department of Homeland Security. I appreciate the patriotism, because what he's saying is these men and women are coming to work to keep us safe. They should be getting a paycheck. And let me say this, Peter. I believe if Congress wasn't getting a paycheck right now, that they would be much more eager to find a solution about this. And I believe John Kennedy has a bill, and it says that if we don't do our job, and that if people aren't getting paid in the government that have stepped up to serve the United States government, then Congress shouldn't get a paycheck either. I firmly support that. And I think that if that moved through the Senate and the House, that ultimately people will be much more eager to find a resolution. And I am all for it.
I want to ask you about something else. The other big story this week, which is Epic Fury. It continues. You spent a lot of time with President Trump. I want to play a soundbite of something that he told me about the Iran war in the Oval Office this week.
You said twice today that you talked to another former president about the Iran strikes.
I did.
Was it George W. Bush?
No.
Was it Bill Clinton?
I don't want to say. I don't want to say. Because
Barack Obama.
a member of a party,
Right.
they have trumped arrangement syndrome. Well,
None of these former presidents will own up to that. My guess is Bill Clinton.
Okay.
What's your guess?
Well, here's what I guess is that in the last 47 years, not one American president has had the courage and the moral clarity to execute in the way that Donald Trump has. So I think they all wish that they had taken action, because you look at the countless number of American lives, the tragedy that has ensued because of inaction. So whichever one of them it is, I believe it should probably be all of them that wish that they had taken care of this, so they didn't leave it in Donald Trump's hands. And Donald Trump has executed, and I think America will be safer as a result.
Do you have a guess?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna let the president speak on that one.
I think there's a Chappaqua area code on the call that President Trump got about this.
Should we dig into that?
We can dig into that. Yeah.
I think we should do some reporting.
We'll FOIA the president's phone records. Yeah, see how that goes. Senator Katie Britt, thank you so much.
Okay, and look, I appreciate the president's leadership on this has been incredible, and I look forward to the finished execution of it and Americans being safer as a result.
Well, thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, thank you.